So to get started, why don't we have you tell us when and how did it all begin?
In the early 1960s, my mother and father came together. 1966, August 3rd, I was born. And I'm going to go into a story of telling this documentary, basically telling my life story, my ups, my downs, fun times I had throughout the 70s, and what life meant to me. From the people that inspired me to the people that betrayed me. It's a story that's going to be documented for my children, my grandchildren, great-grands. It's the only reason why I'm doing this. I want them to know who their father was, or their great-grandfather.
So are you an East Sider or West Sider?
More East Side, West Side, North Side, South Side. I lived in all parts of Detroit.
So where were you born?
I was born in Crittenton Hospital, right around the block from Webb and 12th. I can remember living over there when I was a little kid. It's crazy because people were so different to me as a little kid. It's funny how when you were a small child, you look at the world so different when you were a little child. I was actually afraid of people, the way they looked. People started growing afros, leaving the 60s, going to the 70s. People started growing big beards and looking crazy as hell. I was like, man, this world is stripped up, even as a little kid. But as I grew older, I remember going back to what I was just talking about. I remember the riots a little bit, bits and pieces of the riot. I remember the National Guard told my father to get off that porch and get his ass back in the house. I was like, what in the world is going on? It was people shooting and screaming and cursing, and it was just crazy to grow up in a time period like that. It was just tripped out to me.
So that must have been scary for a kid.
I can't say I was scared because I didn't know what was going on. I was too small to understand what was going on. I just remember bits and pieces of it. I remember I had an uncle. He had a dog named Rex. And a friend of him, he used to feed this dog hot sauce and gunpowder. And right after that riot situation, that dog went crazy and tried to bite me. Threw him out on the front porch. That tripped me out too. 60s, the late 60s, something else. It was different. And I started my life in that era. It was crazy. Going into the 70s. I remember moving off Webb and 12th. In 1970, we moved on Lawton Schoolcraft. And we moved in a two-family flat over there. It was nice over there back then. Enjoyed the neighborhood with white people at that time. That's when I really started to pay attention to life a little bit more. In that time period, my mother had brothers and sisters. They lived downstairs. Me and my father, my mother, we lived upstairs in this family flat. There were so many things we did over there. I remember having bike-a-thons at Belle Isle. They used to take us to Metropolitan Beach, Edgewater. It's the first time I went to see the point living over there.
Now, Edgewater, where was that located?
It was over there off 7 Mile, I think, in Grand River in that area. Yeah. It was old and getting ready to close by the time I went there. But the 70s was nice. People enjoyed one another. I think they partied a little bit too much. But they really enjoyed one another. My parents used to meet people at grocery stores and bring them home. And next thing you know, they partying and barbecuing together. The 70s was live. Black people had it going on back then too. A lot of black people had more than one home. People had cleaners, grocery stores, theaters. It was amazing in the 70s. It was peaceful. The kids played with each other even though we got punished severely sometimes, but things was in order. I think it was more family oriented. People had their mothers and fathers. Everyone had, basically had jobs. But the '70s was amazing to me. Yeah, the '70s was amazing to me because uh, I was captivated by this fashion and style. My parents was really stylish people. They liked to shop and showed us how to dress properly. If you went to certain events, they made sure you was dressed properly. You didn't look like an idiot or a clown. But I remember back in the early '70s, my old man used to tell us about different shoes and stuff like that. He exposed Chuck Taylors and Beta Bullets and NBAs and uh, Pro Kids and stuff like that. You know, it showed us how to wear our pants and what shoes to wear with certain colors and cologne. At an early age, he exposed a lot of that to me. And to this day, I live by that. And I love to be fresh. These niggas love to be fresh. Most of us, well, I know I'm one of them. I love to represent the culture of the city. It's different. I remember him taking us, me and my little brother, when he was born in '72. About '73, '74, he took us to Somerset for the first time. Easter shopping, Lord and Taylor, and stuff like that, Saks. And this is back in '73, I think. But I've always been into fashion. I guess I adapted that from my family, period, because my uncles, aunts, they like fashion too. My old man my mother, they was really into fashion. Staying fresh, getting money. I don't know, I adapted to it. Now, it's a part of my life. I even introduced it to my kids, and they love it. So tradition carries on.
Now you mentioned Somerset. Where is that located?
Somerset is in Troy, Michigan. Big Beaver. Yeah, that was the old Somerset too. It was kind of weird going out there back then because you didn't see no blacks really out there back then. And my old man was a hustler. He used to be busting rubber bands out there, and white people used to looking at him crazy as hell. I used to be like, what the world is this guy? But, that's how it was for him back then. He was getting money. You know what that means. Yeah, I can remember the first time I saw them building the Renaissance Center. That was crazy. That was like in the early '70s too. They was laying out the foundation. I think he was going to Henry Ford Museum at the time. Some kind of orchestra. I think it was called the Detroit Orchestra at the time. And it was laying the groundwork to the Renaissance Center. And it was like, this is our future building in Detroit, Michigan. It's like, wow. And they had a picture of what it was going to look like back then. It was in the early '70s. I think I was in the first grade, first or second grade. So early '70s. That was amazing. Just like when I first went to Northland. When I first went to Northland, it was like a strip mall. It was an outside mall. I remember we used to go to Buster Brown. That was a hot shoe store for young kids back then. They had some real good shoes, Stride Rights, what was it called? Hush Puppies. People laugh at you now if you have some Hush Puppies, but back then that was the thing. Once they enclosed the mall, that's when you start to see entertainers coming in there. It was nice, even back in the '70s. Remember I saw Ray Parker Jr. back in the '70s, late '70s. I think. He was in that mall. That's the first time I ever seen a celebrity, I think, in a mall like that, in a mall setting. And, Northland was amazing. Everybody went to Northland. Anybody came from out of town, they always wanted to go to Northland because they had the hottest clothes. Somerset was a high place too, but it was very expensive. Northland was expensive too, depending on what kind of stores you went in. You know what I mean? I was young. Phillips shoes was real hot for older men back then. Back then, the mall was basically catering to men. It wasn't really catering to women. I guess because the men had the money back then, but over time it flipped, and the mall was just basically about women. We had a few shops in the mall, but back then in the '60s and '70s, it was mainly all the stores in the mall was catering to men. But the '70s was nice, so I love the '70s. It was a lot of black freedom back then. They used to throw the fists up. Everything was cool. Or what was that? Show You Ride. Uh, the movies in the '70s was something else too. Superfly was my favorite back then. I shouldn't have been watching the movies like that, but I used to sneak into a lot of things, listen to Richard Pryor and Red Fox, Mom's Mabley, Mudbone, Pygmy. That's what it's like, Pygmy, Mark, uh, Rudy Ray Moore. I used to listen to all of that. I was a little kid. Uh, '70s was nice. Like I said, the movies, the Bruce Lee movies, Godzilla. I remember on Lauder, everybody used to run in the house during the summer. When we was out for summer break, they used to run in the house and watch Monster Week, Godzilla, Rodan, Ghidra. A lot of them old movies, like TV shows back then. Um, like I said, it was scary movies like Under the Stairs. Uh, we had Scream Theater back then, or The Ghoul. It was on Channel 20. What's crazy is Channel 62 used to have X-rated movies. I used to stay up and watch that too. Late at night when the TV getting ready to go off, because the TV used to sign off at a certain time at night back then too. Like these kids can watch TV 24 hours a day. Be on social media 24 hours a day. Back then, the TV signed off and we went to bed at 9 every night. Kids went to bed at 9. Right after dinner or whatever. It's time to go to bed. But now it's different. But we didn't know it was any different back then. Anything different back then. So there's nothing for us to just adapt to it. Go to bed, do what you're told. It's another thing. In the '70s, somebody down the street can see you doing something wrong, they can come tell your parents. Your parents will wear your ass out too. There was no disrespecting elders, teachers, police, nothing. It was a lot different back then.